TGIT, we are almost to the weekend. How is everyone doing? My goodness. I had this show planned for last week, but something told me something was about to happen. I was really hoping something's about to happen, as in finding the persons that kidnapped, murdered, and dismembered Emily. Got to wait on that. That is for sure. But we're off to a good start because we have a lot of information going on in the case of Emily Pike, all the way to the highest levels. And a lot of cases, when it comes to, well, I'm just going to say something like this. Normally, it doesn't really make it past the FBI's desk. Okay? It really doesn't. This is getting the attention of legislators. And when I say this, I don't mean to downplay the case. But like I said, we're off to a good start because look at this. Misty Dew is back. Oh, yes, she is. Comrie, look at this. She's been a member for 2 years. Y'all, my goodness. Chrissy, thank you so much for the super chat. You guys are absolutely amazing. Tanya Rodriguez said, Brooks, thank you for covering this case. I was born and raised in Phoenix. Man, Arizona's my jam. You can be up in Flagstaff and it's like, beautiful pine trees, snow. Then you go down Highway 17 and it's a bumpy ride, okay? The next thing you know, it's desert and cactus. It's awesome. One of my best friends, her daughter recently moved to Buckeye, Arizona. Let me tell you about Buckeye, Arizona. My husband went to get out of the truck one day. He was going to go over to the Quick Trip, get me a Diet Dr. Pepper, get some cheese sticks, whatever we were getting at the Quick Trip. He made it maybe 3 paces and came running back to the truck, jumped in and said, I need sunglasses because it's burning my eyes. Yes, it's burning my eyes. You're the best too, True Crime Beat. She said, love y'all, best community. Gay Lee, member for 22 months. Woo, what is going on? Good morning, Angie baby. Well, let's take a second and tell everybody we are almost there. Almost to the weekend. Exactly, Walking Dead. Oh, and he can tell the story as if it just happened. Man, and he's a big dude. Here he comes running. I'm like, what are you going to do? You going to break the asphalt? It's burning my eyes. It's burning my eyes. I bet Tanya Rodriguez knows about that. But like I said, Emily is making waves. We don't hear about this in many cases. In the case of Harmie Montgomery, we know a lot went on between the state of New Hampshire and the state of Massachusetts to strengthen, tighten interstate compacts so that children don't, and I hate this phrase, get lost in the cracks. God, I hate when they say that, but they say it. Emily Pike's kidnapping, murder, and dismemberment has now gotten the attention of Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs. This came out yesterday from legacy media, not just mainstream media, but this is like the big dogs, okay? A Native American tribe in southeastern Arizona is pushing for tighter regulations on state-licensed group homes after a 14-year-old girl was found dismembered weeks after she sneaked out of her bedroom window. Now, a little birdie told me, and I'm not going to tell you who, that as far as the story about going to meet a 14-year-old with a guitar. That might have just been what Emily told her friend there at the group home. She was honestly trying to get back home, and she was found a long ways away from the group home. The San Carlos Apache tribe said Monday it sent a resolution to Governor Katie Hobbs and other state officials requesting an investigation, and they want legislative reform in response to the death of Emily Pike. Emily's dismembered remains were found in garbage bags near a remote forest road on February 14th, nearly 3 weeks after she left her Mesa group home, the tribe said in a news release. No one has been arrested, and the Gila County Sheriff's Office, which is the head investigating agency, has released just a few details about the case, but they are seeking the public's assistance for sure. What they have released is basically what we already know. However, some very well-known investigators, talking heads are now involved. And I don't mean any of that Dog the Bounty Hunter shit that shows up for like one picture and you never see him again. Chris McDonough is going to be working on this case. As far as I know, he is still in Arizona. If he wants to stop by and see Jinbug's new Easter cactus, he is more than welcome. Jinbug, would you invite Chris McDonough and his wife Karen over to your house to see the cactus? Show him around. Nancy Grace is coming unglued on this. Vinnie Politan. Oh, the feet is to the fire, and it's warm. It's warm.
We're seeing the missing persons report. It provides an updated timeline of what happened in the days and weeks after Emily went missing. This new 12-page report shows Emily Pike was reported missing by the group home manager around 8 p.m. on Monday, January 27th.
Okay, the missing persons report leaves me with more questions than answers. OJ, get out. Get over there. I need a babysitter for OJ when I'm doing the show. You're going to see what I'm talking about as we go through the missing persons report. She was reported missing at 8 p.m. Monday, January 27th. Now then, her mama did not know she was missing for another week. Her mom, Steph, is more than welcome to come on this show. More than welcome. Somebody has put the fear of God into her. And it is bad.
The group home manager telling police Emily left the group home through her bedroom window, and the screen was pushed out from the inside. The manager also told police Emily ran away several times in the past. An official missing person.
So if she has ran away from this group home so many times, isn't that a sign of a problem? Is it not?
Persons bulletin for Emily was sent out statewide on Wednesday, January 29th. The documents also show the Mesa group home where Emily lived received a voicemail in early February from an.
She told me that the group home received a voicemail on 2/7/25 from an unknown person stating that Emily was with her mother on the San Carlos reservation, according to a Facebook post. She was not with her mother. She was not.
Unknown caller claiming Emily was with her mom on San Carlos Apache tribal land. But Emily's mother told the tribe's case manager Emily was not at home and she hadn't heard from her daughter and appeared worried, according to the case manager. Emily's family telling ABC 15 they were not informed the teen was missing until a week after the missing persons report was filed. Then, on February 27th, Exactly 1 month after she was reported missing, the Gila County Sheriff's Office positively identified Emily's dismembered remains, ruling the case a homicide. Police say this remains an active investigation, and there are still no solid persons of interest or suspects in Emily's case. We will continue to follow this.
Too many red flags for me. Way too many. Way too many. It is horrible. Now, you know, when I do my deep dives and I do my research, I don't know exactly how to put this without sounding totally gross and grim, but there is dismemberment as far as trying to conceal a death. Meaning, well, you guys remember in Okmulgee, the 4 men that were found and their body parts were all in the river. Okay, that's to conceal a crime. Every part has been found except for her arms. Now, in Mexico, 5 women were found dismembered. And I don't mean women like my age. I mean women more like Walking Dead's age, early 20s. No arms. That's too much of a coincidence for me, okay? Way too much. Soulshine said, wouldn't the group home be required to report the call about her being with mom to law enforcement? I think there's a lot of things that the group home just kind of turned the other way about. Other people have gone missing from this group home, and it takes Emily getting kidnapped, murdered, and dismembered to get the attention of the governor. Make it make sense.
And as the investigation into the murder of 14-year-old Emily Pike continues, we're uncovering more about the Mesa group home where she was living before she was killed. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. For 12 News at 10, I'm Kariva Devine.
I'm Mark Curtis. Thanks for joining us. Emily Pike went missing from the home in late January. And tonight, we're learning another teen from that same group home has been missing now for nearly a year.
12 News journalist Bianca Bono is joining us live from the newsroom to explain. Bianca?
Well, shortly after Pike's remains were found, we learned from Mesa police that they had taken 30 missing persons reports stemming from that same group home over the past 3 years.
30 people. 30 people in 3 years. 30 kids. 30 kids. Angel P said, I just now got my notification. Thank you, YouTube. You're always on the up and up. Good Lord. 30 kids missing. Reported missing. 30 in 3 years.
So we asked if any of those cases remain open today, and we learned that one does. According to the Mesa Police Department, another teenage girl is missing from the same group home where Emily Pike was living before she was murdered and has been missing for close to a year. Emily Pike was last seen in January in the area of McKellips Road and Mesa Drive after leaving the group home. And on Valentine's Day, the 14-year-old girl's remains were discovered in trash bags. An hour.
I've got to take a break right there. Absorb this. Now, we have a room in Discord for Emily Pike. Our amazing, amazing friend, Jinbug, has been very involved in her case. She has gone to the site. She has sent a lot of pictures. She's put some very, very, very moving pictures into the Discord room. And if anybody would like to come and would like to join, let me know. It's not the Discord that you hear about in other groups. We mainly talk about dogs, cats, food, and cases.
Hour and a half away in a remote area near Globe. After Pike's horrific death, Mesa police confirmed over the past 3 years, they've taken 30 missing persons reports involving residents of that same group home, and one of those residents remains missing to this day. 17-year-old Veronica Cruz was last seen on May 18th last year around 4:55 p.m., reported missing by group home staff. Her photo and information featured on the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's website. But despite that, when 12 News reached the group home's CEO for comment about Cruz's whereabouts, she said she believes Cruz is safe, though she does not know who Cruz is with or where she is. She added that Cruz turns 18 next month. When 12 News followed up with Mesa Police, asking about the CEO's statement, a police spokesperson said an investigator needs to physically see that Cruz is okay before changing any case status. And due to her age, which is still 17, she would have to be taken to her guardian and not just released. Mesa Police encourages anyone with information about her whereabouts to call them and let them know.
And I did follow up with the group home CEO asking if any efforts are being made to get Cruz back into the care of either the home or a guardian. She has not responded to that question. DCS has opened a licensing inquiry to determine whether appropriate steps were taken by that group home in Emily Pike's case. Now, back to the Pike investigation. A task force has now been created consisting of local and federal law enforcement agencies that are investigating her death.
You know who also is involved investigating her death? Okay, so we have Chris McDonough. Nancy Grace is about to lose her mind. Court TV, Law and Crime, all the big ones, NBC News is talking about it. But as far as law enforcement, real authorities, so we have, of course, the locals. We have the FBI. But also, I noticed in an article, Border Patrol is involved and CIA. How often do you hear about a child being murdered after running away from a group home and the CIA is involved? This is big, this is deep, and it's horrible. Angel Girl said, I'm just wondering if this is an inside job. Well, considering 30 went missing in 3 years, you kind of wonder, don't you? Are there flyers for these children? I would like to know that as well. Where are the parents to advocate? Well, you can't advocate when you don't know that your child's missing. And a lot of these parents, I know it doesn't make sense, they're scared to say anything. That is, Jen Bug and I had a really long talk about it one day. I spoke to Mo about it, and they're scared to say anything. They have other children to protect as well.
They've also now set up a centralized tip line, which you can find on our website, 12news.com. Bianca Bono, 12 News.
Emily's making moves. She is making moves. She's going to change things. I just don't like the way it had to go down, because Emily is a beautiful, beautiful girl, artistic, funny, musical, makes friends easily. And in a case like this, you're going to be extra protective of your children, would you not? I see some of these cases and, there's a missing child in the family. And then next thing you know, they've got their other kids on social media. And I'm like, whoa, 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 hang on. That seems a little dangerous to me. All right, take a look at this. Chris McDonough and his beautiful wife, Karen. She's not the type of Karen that says, I want to talk to the manager. She's the type of Karen that says, you're doing a great job. You have to look at the screen because there's not a lot of sound.
Apache Reservation. I am standing.
Hey, where's Pat Kay? Her boyfriend's on TV. Can someone wake up Pat Kay?
At the memorial where 14-year-old Emily Pike from the San Carlos Apache Reservation, her body was found in this area in trash bags. As this is the Interstate 60 in this area, and as you can see, this turnoff had to be known to the suspect. It had this area we're going to explore together. As you know, I have been a part of the Operation Lady Justice, which was a DOJ initiative for missing, murdered indigenous women. It was a presidential appointment. I was one of 4 instructors that was brought in to train the first ever homicide task force made up completely of Native Americans to investigate these types of crimes. I was honored to do it. I am still working with the tribal nations and helping solve these horrific events. Okay? There is no reason on this earth that a 14-year-old Native American girl should be found in trash bags off the side of a road, dumped.
So is it a local or someone that is familiar with the local area? Because remember, she was found quite a ways away from the group home. Pat Kay's going to die that she's missing this.
As if she was invisible. Come along with me as we explore this together. This area, this is a fire road here, so you would really have to know where you were going in order to, drop the remains of this child. You kind of get into the mind of the suspect, and over here to the right, it looks like there's some cattle area, as you can see. Just pan over to the right. You can see the cattle area over there. I don't know who these folks are. This is Fire Road 355. And I'm looking. This area looks like it's a camping area for people because there's little fire pits here off the side of the road.
So as we can see, we are off the beaten path. Okay. A lot of speculation as to why her arms are missing. A lot of speculation as into why are the arms missing of the girls in Mexico, just over the border outside of Arizona. Some say it's a calling card for certain cartels. Some say it's gang members. I don't know, but the deaths are extremely similar. Anna said the fire road is visible from the road or turnout. It would not take a lot of knowledge to think a body could be dumped out there, in my opinion. So you are familiar with the area. It seems pretty off the beaten path to me. It's really pretty in Arizona, not gonna lie. And it's its own critter. Like I said, you can be in Flagstaff and it's pine trees and all kinds of stuff. Then there's the Tonto National Forest. There's Payson, Phoenix, Buckeye, Quartz, Holbrook, Arizona. It's a gorgeous state, but a lot of bad stuff goes on in desolate areas. Not all the time, but if you want to hide, you're not going to hide in plain sight. Snow wants to know, is the cartel big in Arizona? I would rather a local answer this as opposed to me just go off of what is reported in the news. I've been having a lot of conversations with friends from different areas around the world, and the news that is funneled to me is different than the news that is funneled to, say, Canada or England or Germany or Ireland. Oh, can't forget Tombstone, Arizona. From what I understand, yeah, the cartel is a problem. Walking Dead said Chris isn't out there alone, correct? Well, who do you think's taking the video, Walking Dead? You think the Roadrunners are holding his phone? I'm sure his son's there. I'm sure Karen's there. But if anyone harms a hair on Chris McDonough's head, Pat K will be all over it. We won't have a cartel problem anymore. Love you, Walking Dead. Uh-oh, I told you. Pat K. She said, oh, Chris McDonough. One night I couldn't sleep. I liked the background noise. And I think it was Josh from the lab was live. And he had Chris up. Well, I heard a voice that I recognized. And I'm like, next to my Aunt Sarah, is that my favorite Canadian? And I'm like, yeah, Pat's on panel. Don't you be messing with Chris McDonough and his wife. Pat will get him.
Yeah, this area is known. I mean, this person that did this knows this area. There's no question in my mind now that this is going to be somebody that has a familiarity. I'm looking for crime scene tape that they may not have recovered and pulled up, and that will tell us exactly where she was found, which will give me a better understanding of what the suspect was thinking.
I agree with Jinbug. This is really tough to watch, and it makes you wonder, like, what's going through the person holding the camera's mind, McDonough's mind, because Emily Pike was there. Emily Pike was put through horrific, well, there's no good murder, horrific ordeal. I'm going to put it that way. Soak that in at the very end of this. Soak that in. We see you, Emily. Black-haired check 10 said, I doubt it's cartel. Hey, we don't know. Basically, they just don't have anything right now. We don't know. No idea. But yes, we see you, Emily. We definitely do. Well, we know who else sees it. Nancy Grace is about to lose her ever-loving mind, and some days I don't think she has that far to go. Okay? Snow said, with it being so dry, I wonder if they found blood anywhere. Oh, yeah, there was blood. I've always wondered, I love your avatar picture, Snow. My goodness. You look like Christy Brinkley. Are you all related? You gorgeous thing. I always wonder how they control their wildfires in Arizona because it is so dry. I know we're having a really hard time with them right now. I can smell fire right now, but those are controlled burns. All right, get ready because Nancy Grace is about to lose her mind. Chris McDonough is involved. And God bless him. He could just be collecting his pension, vacationing with his wife, enjoying his puppy dog. I think he works harder in retirement than he did when he was a detective.
Breaking news tonight. A body found dismembered off US 60, just ID'd as a missing girl. Emily, just 14 years old. Yes, her dismembered body, a 14-year-old little girl, thrown off the side of the highway like she's trash. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thank you for being with us.
A teen girl last seen walking near an Arizona group home found dismembered over 100 miles away, who murdered 14-year-old Emily Pike.
What happened to Emily? I know when you see a headline, dismembered, you stick on that. But there's so much more. Why did Emily go missing? How did Emily go missing? There's so much to this story. Of course, I want to know who murdered Emily Pike, just 14 years old. Do you remember what you were doing or what your daughter or son was doing at age 14?
I was eating bugles and with that welfare spray cheese and watching Jaws 4 The Revenge when I was 14. Huh. Easy. Easy. Complaining about having my period. It was a pretty simple life when I was 14. Black-haired chick, 10. Why was she in a group home? I am on the fence about whether I should bring that out because it's going to bring in politics. There are several people from the reservation when it was believed that they could not feed their children. I'm just going to leave it right there.
Imagine what these parents are going through. Emily Pike found dismembered and thrown on the side of the road, US 60. Listen.
To say that I miss you so much, and I really hope I'll try to see if he can come visit me next time.
Not recovered any kind of weapon. Cause of death is still under investigation by the ME's office. We're investigating those leads. None of those, as of yet, have pointed us to a definite suspect or person of interest. We believe that she was killed somewhere else, and then that is where she was dropped off.
That from our friends at CBS 5, Arizona Family TV. That's a lot just right there in those few seconds to analyze. In the practice of criminal law, every detail matters. First of all, you saw Emily, little Emily Pike, just 14 years old. How did this girl go missing? Why did she go missing? And why is she dismembered on the side of the road? Also, we know we haven't recovered a weapon. Cause of death still under investigation by the medical examiner's office. Also, we learn that it's believed Emily was murdered elsewhere. So this would be, at the very least, a secondary crime scene, in my opinion, a tertiary or third crime scene. How was she dropped off? In a vehicle? Is there roadside surveillance? Are there license grabbers? Was it near a toll road? Was it out in the middle of nowhere where there are no surveillance cameras of any type, even at a red light?
Yeah, Nancy's going to lose her mind. So we spoke about this totally different case, but you know, the two women that were horrifically murdered in the panhandle of Oklahoma. Old Jennifer Coffindaffer, she was on a straight streak of being our idiot of the week. She just kept saying, this is going to be a case where digital evidence is so important. The digital evidence is really going to solve this case. Okay, I called Lisa Wilson right after that. I about shit and fell back in it. I said, excuse me, it is the panhandle of Oklahoma. There is no license tag grabbers. There is no surveillance. You're lucky in the panhandle of Oklahoma to get a signal out there. You're lucky to get an AM radio station. And if you do, it's going to be the Farm and Ag Report, or it's going to be someone selling windows. So, Nancy, you know, we love you, girl. We love you, girl. We do. You do great work. Orange is not your color. I prefer you in blue. But no, you've answered all your own questions. Multiple choice. No, 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 no.
We have had cases, for instance, let me just bring up, here's an easy one. Alex Murdaugh, the trial lawyer out of South Carolina, convicted in the murder of wife Maggie and son Paul, double murder. Well, he also staged his own murder attempt on himself and there was no surveillance. Well, lo and behold, after we covered it and pointed out that there was a Baptist church a few miles down from the incident at an intersection, guess what? There was surveillance. So has that been harvested? Where were the remains found? Were they in a bag? What kind of bag? That could be.
Okay, I'm waiting for Chris McDonough to come on because she's really starting to piss me off. I'm putting up the StreamYard link. Hopefully Jinbug can grab it. She can explain more about the terrain because it's much, much different than the Murdaws in South Carolina. Okay?
Very probative. In other words, prove something. Let me refer to the Tot Mom Casey Anthony case and the murder of her little girl, Kelly. Her body found double bagged.
Fuck me.
In bags taken from the Anthony home, about 10 houses down from the Anthony home in a swampy area. Those bags revealed.
Let's all stretch and take a breath. We love you, Nancy. We love you, Nancy. But we're talking about the desert. She always has to bring up Tot Mom and Kaylee Anthony. This is totally different. This is totally different. I understand that case really affected her. She's like, Kaylee was double bagged. I'm like, damn it. Stop now.
Revealed a treasure trove of evidence. How do I know that this LE is doing the right thing? First of all, straight out to Susan Hendricks joining me, investigative reporter, journalist, author of Down the Hill, My Descent into the Double Murder in Delphi. Susan, I'm very curious. Could you just tell me, give me an idea, not just off US 60, that could be anywhere. Where were Emily's remains found?
Nancy, good to see you. 100 miles from where she was last seen. And you mentioned what type of bag. It's a contractor, a garbage bag, dismembered, as you mentioned, just horrific details. Highway 60 near Globe, Arizona. Again, 100 miles from where she was last seen.
I'm showing a shot of the bag. Okay,
yeah.
There you see it. Susan Hendricks rightfully described it as a contractor's bag. There you see it. It looks plastic, not necessarily the plastic trash bag we're all familiar with, but some combination including some sort of synthetic fiber. Why is that important? It's extremely important. Hold, Susan. Chris McDonough joining me, Director Cold Case Foundation.
These aren't regular trash bags. These are contractor bags. Now then, I am going to go ahead and compare some cases here where they have tracked down things they found at the crime scene or things that were used in days before part of the crime, and they will track it down to the store. Okay? So, the case of Anna Walsh. Her husband had gone to Home Depot, bought a slew of shit. Okay. Another Home Depot. Seems like a lot of these cases always have a Dollar General in there, but the really, really, really bad ones always involve the damn Home Depot. Adam Montgomery tracked back the lime, the saw, all the things he bought at the Home Depot. So these aren't like regular, Glad bags that have the scent of Febreze on them, okay? These are contractor garbage bags.
Former homicide detective, over 300 homicide investigations under his belt. He's a star of his own YouTube channel, The Interview Room, where I found him, and you can find him at coldcasefoundation.org. Chris McDonough, very, very important, that bag regarding who murdered this 14-year-old little girl. Why am I not hearing about her in the headlines? Why aren't people screaming from the top of at the top of their lungs about Emily Pike, murdered and dismembered, age 14. I got some theories on why we haven't heard about.
I've got theories too, and I'm going to get myself in trouble. I already got my hand slapped for saying this the last time 2 weeks ago when we did Emily's show. I said if this was a group home full of a bunch of white girls, blonde hair, blue eyes, or hell, I'll even throw my own hair color in there, red hair and blue eyes, they'd be coming unglued. Now, as far as the true crime community, we know what they're talking about. They're talking about Chris, Katie, and fat ass Seth. They won't get off of it. They won't. They love it. They eat it up.
Emily Pike, but back to the synthetic nature of this bag. Why is that so important?
Well, that bag can be a huge piece of evidence in relationship to solving this crime because, number one, it tells you that the person who selected that bag was either in the contracting and or construction industry of some sort, because it's a larger type of contractor's bag. You can take that bag, put it into what they call a super glue chamber, and that super glue chamber essentially will bring up the ridges and the swirls of any potential fingerprints on that bag. So it's a huge piece of evidence to your point, Nancy, but the fact that she is found in that bag also drives it home that she was looked at as a piece of trash.
You know, looked at like a piece of trash. I have a little girl and a little boy. They just turned 17. This girl, murdered and dismembered, thrown on the side of US 60.
Yeah. Always bringing up the twins. All right. I knew we'd have to get through this.
Like she's trash. Why? Who? Forget about why. Why does it matter to me? Who?
And that is true. It's not hard to get contractor bags. It's really not. Not at all. You know, when you're doing yard cleanup and, you know, after a storm and you got all the limbs and everything, you know, just a regular old hefty or glad bag's not going to do it. So it's not uncommon to be able to get a contractor bag, but they have what's called lot numbers on them. They can trace it back to the store. Again, we're not talking about some damn Walmart bag. Sophie Petrillo, thank you. It hurts me too.
Who did this to Emily? To Susan Hendricks, joining me, investigative reporter and author. Susan, also very, very important. And I'm going to go in just one moment to Emily's very beloved uncle joining us. Susan, I want to understand something. Off US 60, what would the weather be there?
Well, of course, being in Arizona and thinking about, you know, I used to live there, going to Arizona State, and middle of nowhere, desert, of course, even this time of year. And, you know, my heart does go out to her uncle.
Chris McDonough, what Susan Hendricks just said, very important. That's a critical piece of this, because fingerprints are very simply oil secreted by the human body. That's what fingerprints are made of. So when you touch something, which I love, a trash bag, it's a perfect conduit for fingerprints. You can get a perfect fingerprint. The weather conditions out in the desert are not going to affect that.
Yeah, absolutely, Nancy, and that's why the process is called super gluing, and it's literally super glue in a like a fish tank, and then you put the bag in that fish tank, and the chemicals react to each other in terms of from the skin and the oils on that skin and the super glue, and what ends up happening is you have this this picture appear in front of you, and it is, you know, magic, for lack of a better term, but you can get a very good fingerprint when you go through that process. And you're right, the weather will not bother that at all.
Joining me is Lynn Shaw, founder and executive director of Lynn's Warriors, a nonprofit dedicated to stopping human trafficking, specifically among girls and women, and the exploitation of young girls. It's hard for me to imagine what Emily lived through before she was murdered and dismembered. And I want to point out, Lynn Shaw, that this little girl, 14 years old, we still haven't found her arms or hands. I wonder why. Could it be the killer's attempt to evade her being identified by not having her fingerprints available? I don't know, and I don't care. But what this child went through before she was murdered.
Well, let me tell you, Nancy, the hands were most likely cut off. So exactly as you said, it can't be traced back anything about her. But I have too many questions. This is the way my mind works. Now we've got some body parts in a bag. How come her mother wasn't told about this for 1 month? What is going on here?
Joining me now, very special guest. This is a very beloved uncle of Emily's. Allred Pike Jr. is joining us. Allred, thank you for being with us. What was your reaction when you discovered that Emily, 14-year-old Emily, had not only been murdered, but dismembered, her body thrown on the side of US 60?
Just hearing you describe it again, it's like we're reliving it. That's just stuff. Hearing what happened to her and how she was just tossed to the side of the road.
This man is breaking my heart. She is a baby girl. She wanted to go home to her mom. I don't care if she said she was going to meet a boyfriend. He's going to teach her to play guitar. That was just a guise, because she can't go and say, I'm going home. This man is breaking my heart. The group home is going to be heavily investigated now because the tribe has shooken the apple cart, and it got all the way up to the governor of Arizona. And when you start inconveniencing powerful people, shit's gonna get done. Okay? It's gonna get done. They don't like messes on their hands. They like to be the hero. They like to go on TV and go, we've put out the fire. We're opening a new shopping mall. That's the kind of stuff they like. They don't like messy. They don't like messy. And I think it's awesome that they brought it straight to the governor's desk. And you know what? She's only got one place to go now, and that is to the Secretary of the Interior. She's got to go federal. It's going to get done.
Sorry, but it's hard. It's hard to hear exactly what happened to her. And I just can't imagine what her mom and her dad are going through. As an extended family, it hurts. It hurts to hear exactly what happened to her.
Mr. Pike, I would like to apologize for being so candid and harsh with the facts. But I have faced many a jury, and I learned at the very beginning, this is not a time to sugarcoat or airbrush the truth. This is a time for the truth to be told. There have been many, many times in a break, in a trial, I would go away from the jury or anybody else to another floor in the courthouse, go into the ladies' room, go to the furthest stall, and cry or be sick from what I had to do and say in the courtroom and prove to a jury. I'm really sorry
Thank you.
Seeing you cry
Mm-hmm.
makes me want to cry
Mm-hmm.
because I think of my girl, my little Lucy, at 14, just 14 years old. What are police telling the family? What are they saying happened? They don't even have a COD, cause of death, yet. They don't know where she was killed. Do they know when she was killed? Nothing.
Nothing.
Mr. Pike, do you believe that Emily's case has been lost in the sauce because she is an American Indian?
You said it, and it's hard for me to say it because I wish it wasn't like that, but the news coverage isn't really there. It's just local news, and you're the first national news person to cover this case, and it's sad. If it was someone else.
Let's talk about that. Lost in the sauce. Tell you what, sometimes Nancy wants me to get lost in the sauce. Whew. Not to disparage anyone that has lost their life due to, well, anything. But right now we're talking about losing your life to violence. Let's use, and this is going to hurt some people and probably make them mad. Let's use Gabby Petito, for example. Beautiful girl. Beautiful. Full of life. Had a podcast, a YouTube channel, traveling around the country. Well, you know, she's not the only girl that got killed by her boyfriend that week. Okay? Nothing against Gabby. But there is a huge difference in the way the mainstream media, and especially the legacy media, pushes things out. And it comes down to one thing. It's green, it folds easily in your wallet, and it's attached to something called advertising and algorithm. Okay? I say we change that.
Maybe it would have been all over the news.
To say that I miss you so much, and I really hope I'll try to see if he can come visit me next time.
From our friends, AZ Family TV. Many of us are on our feet all day long, whether it's work, errands, or just snuck out to see a boy that she met through guitar lessons. But let me remind everyone, she is the innocent here. For instance, has anyone forgotten Jocelyn Nungary, just 12 years old? She snuck out to use her cell phone. There's video of her at a local 7-Eleven, and it is there she meets her perpetrators, the men that killed her, according to police. Let's see a shot of them. Jose Martinez, Franklin Pena, them. They are charged with kidnapping, assaulting, and murdering this little girl, leaving her body under a bridge. And then, of course, there's Nicole Lovell. She was just 13.
Got a question, Kimberly Mann. Brooks, do you know if the FBI is involved? Yes, they are heavily. So is Border Patrol. So is CIA, if NBC is telling me the truth. Now, I think this is very interesting. Very interesting. Horrific, but interesting. Because around the same time that Emily was kidnapped, murdered, dismembered, not that far away in proximity, across the border, this happened. All right. Much like beautiful Emily, these young adults, teens on vacation, some are indigenous, some are, different blends of blood, if you know what I mean. Their arms were removed and their hands were put in a contractor bag nearby. You get where I'm going? It's horrible. Okay? I don't know another adjective. It's horrible.
14 years old, had already survived so much in her short life, already surviving a liver transplant and so much more. Children at school making fun of her because she had a scar on her throat from a surgery. The valedictorian engineering student, David Eisenhower, is the one that lured her out of her home. And then his friend, Natalie Keepers, helped destroy her body and leave it on the side of the road, like Jocelyn Nungary was left under a bridge. One survivor, Alicia Koskevich, 13, when she was lured out, just 13, kidnapped, repeatedly assaulted, and the night she was set to be murdered, she was saved. Her perv, Scott Tyree. So I don't know that a little 14-year-old girl who sneaks out to meet her little friend boy that she has guitar lessons with.
I can tell you right now, there's no 14-year-old boy unless I was told wrong by Emily's mother. Okay? Emily was trying to get home. She wanted to escape the group home.
Is really grounds for attack, but I guarantee you someone will attack her. Lynn Shaw, I was asking Allred Pike Jr. if this case had been ignored, Emily's murder unsolved, because Emily is indigenous. What do you think?
We need to talk about the American crisis, which is women and girls in the indigenous community. They are totally ignored. Thank goodness we are talking about it here today. How come no other media outlet has covered this story of this beautiful little 14-year-old? I want to talk about some stats. We have to. Until recently, tribal nations had their own kind of law enforcement. Thank goodness they are now working alongside the FBI and local law enforcement. We know that women and girls account for about 2.2% of all women and girls in the United States. And of that, they're about a little over 1% of the population. Can you imagine if we took the entire population of the United States, approximately, 340 million, and 1%, that'd be over 34 million or thereabouts of murdered and missing, people. So why don't we talk about the indigenous community? We have a lot going on here. They also suffer. 1 in 10 cases are higher than other ethnicities of missing and murdered. Why aren't we covering this?
Jumping off what Lynn Shaw from Lynn's Warriors just said, straight out to Mary Kim Titla, a special guest joining us. Mary Kim, the executive director of Unity, which is United National Indian Tribal Youth, Inc. And not only that, first Native American TV journalist in Arizona, joining us. Why has Emily's case been ignored, Mary Kim?
That's a good question. And as an Indigenous woman, I feel invisible. I think that we need to ask law enforcement. I think we need to ask people who are investigating these cases why there hasn't been more priority. We have seen in our history that we are less of a priority. It's an injustice and it's outrageous. I do have some statistics. 4 in 5 Indigenous women have experienced violence in their lifetime. And the national average for the murder rate of women living on Indian reservations is 10 times the national average. There's not a good number, but we have a fairly good idea based on some numbers back from 2016 that there are 5,700 missing American Indian and Alaska Native women and girls. So, of course, we're missing a few years, and that number is now much higher. And I can personally relate to this because my own cousin was missing and murdered. My niece was missing and murdered. So this is an injustice. And I do feel invisible. And it's a national crisis, and we want it
You know
addressed.
what, Mary Kim Titla? I want to address something you just said, that you feel invisible. Out of all the cases, and there are well over 10,000 of them, believe it or not, one of the things I have found in crime victims, whether they were child molested, whether they were raped, whether they were ag assaulted, whether they were set on fire, it's the feeling of helplessness that sticks with them forever. Forever. That feeling that there's nothing you can do, there's nothing you can say to fix it, and nobody is hearing you. I sometimes...
Lisa Wilson said, when they live on a reservation, how do you get them in U.S. court to fight for custody? I can't speak for Arizona. I live in Oklahoma, and it's a thing. It is a thing. I know, like, the nearest reservation to me, they have their own police force. They have their own everything. Jody Blonde, Brooks, is this your true crime channel? Yeah, girlfriend. We're here every day. And it's extremely sad because there's so many hidden secrets.
I feel, Mary Kim Titla, that you and Lynn Shaw and Emily's family, Mr. Allred Pike Jr. with us tonight, you're just screaming out the car on 3rd Avenue. Nobody's hearing. I mean, Mary Kim, this little girl, Allred Pike Jr., your niece, was likely brutally murdered. We don't even have a COD on her because her body was dismembered, her arms and hands removed so we couldn't get an ID, but we did, put in a bag and thrown off the highway. I mean, for me, the world should stop until this is solved, Allred. But I agree with Mary Kim and Lynn Shaw. It's like nobody's hearing us scream.
Mary Kim is correct. If they did pay more attention to my niece's case, I think we would have been somewheres at this point. Like you've been hitting on, there's cameras in the Phoenix area, and they could have at least tried to track down those camera footage to see if any cameras picked her up walking or talking to anybody in the Phoenix area. My niece, is Native American, and sad to say, we felt kind of like she wasn't being prioritized to kind of make, let me say that there was finally a task force put together this week. That's about 3 weeks after her body was found or identified. So why did it take so long for a task force to be formed? It should have been done as soon as her body was found. It's just this case has not been covered as much as it should be. only local news has covered it, and I'm appreciative that you're covering it, and hopefully more people cover it from here on out.
Please.
A lot of
my
things could happen.
stars. Allred, you're so right. I mean, when you're looking for a missing child, an hour delay is bad enough. Just think if she's in a vehicle, she was found, what, like 100 miles away? Everybody correct me if I've got any facts wrong because they matter. Think of it, 60 mph, an hour, she'd be 60 miles away. And a week passes before the family is even told. It's not the first time a child goes missing from a so-called home. The case of Serenity Dennard haunts me to this day.
It was 10:45 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Serenity is in the gym.
Okay. That has nothing to do with Emily's case, but I think this possibly could. Okay. This happened right around the time and not too far in proximity. I don't mean just around the block, in proximity to beautiful, innocent children. Dismembered, hands found in bags, tarps, trunks, contractor bags. It's way too similar for me. I know we say there's no such thing as coincidence. Well, there is. Coincidence is God jumping up going, boo, did I get you to notice? I'm showing you. I'm showing you.
The dismembered bodies of 9 missing students have been found on the side of a highway in southern Mexico, along with a bag filled with severed hands. Authorities made the gruesome discovery in San Jose Miahuatlan, near the border of Puebla and Oaxaca. 4 bodies were stuffed inside the trunk of an abandoned vehicle, while 5 others were found under a blood-soaked tarp nearby. Investigators recovered 8 pairs of severed hands in a bag, with 2 more left inside the car. The victims, 4 women and 5 men between 19 and 30 years old, all had bullet wounds and signs of torture. The students from Tlaxcala had traveled to Oaxaca for a beach vacation, but went missing on February 27th. Surveillance footage shows their vehicle on a highway near Atlico 3 days earlier, about 90 miles from where their remains were found. The car, a dark grey Volkswagen, was discovered around 150 miles southeast of Mexico City. Authorities have not named any suspects, but say investigations are ongoing. Prosecutors from Puebla, Tlaxcala, and Oaxaca are working together to track down those responsible. Mexico recorded 30,000 murders in 2023, making it one of the country's deadliest years on record. Many of the killings are linked to cartel violence. For now, the mystery remains. Who targeted these students, and why?
For more stories just like these,
It's sick. There's no clean murder, good murder, anything like that. We have too many similarities.
For several reasons, perhaps. One, because obviously this body was found dismembered within bags, probably out in the environment for weeks. And so there was probably a considerable amount of decomposition. It could blur our ability to see the injuries as they would have existed at the time of death. Also, there may very well be injuries present, but not fatal injuries. So in other words, there was wounds, I believe, described of the face and by themselves. They may simply not be fatal injuries or severe enough for them to say, here is the cause of death. Alternatively, there may also be toxicology reports that are pending. I know a lot of times in these cases, we want to have an answer right away, but medical examiner's offices may very well pend the cause of death for other investigations to come forward. Therefore, they can get the answer correct in the end. I know myself in these cases, I'm always in direct communication with law enforcement and family. I'm letting them know what I'm thinking of, what I think the cause of death is, but we want to make sure in the end we get it correct.
Dr. Thomas Coyne.
It's a sad day anywhere, okay? I don't care if you take a SpaceX to Mars. It's a sad day anywhere when a beautiful child is found in contractor bags, dismembered, and you don't know the cause of death.
Often, and it's harder than you would think to actually dismember a body. Unless you know how to readily disarticulate various joints, it can be very difficult as well.
To Chris McDonough joining us, a veteran homicide detective, and now at Cold Case Foundation and star of The Interview Room on YouTube. Chris, very rare that you get a dismemberment, typically to hide evidence. But I really think it goes into the mind of the killer. It's not just to hide evidence. That's why we see so many shallow grave cases where the person is buried in a shallow grave. But to go through a dismemberment ordeal is very difficult to do and very rare. So what I'm getting at is the mind of Emily Pike, just 14-year-old.
Another expert talking head, I can't remember what show it was talking about Emily briefly and said sometimes, how I put this without YouTube spanking my buns and put me in the corner with no cookie. Sometimes the harm, the torture to a human being makes it very hard to determine exactly how they passed away. Now let that sink in.
Mind of someone that would dismember a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah, Nancy, I mean, we're talking about an apex predator here, meaning this individual or individuals, depending on what the investigation reveals, they have thought about this for quite some time. This is a thought fantasy that projects itself onto the victim after typically a sexual assault. So this individual or individuals is at the highest threat level to the community. And unfortunately, Emily, you know, like Mary Kim, had said earlier, Emily was invisible to this suspect or suspects. And thus, the result that we're seeing here is she was thrown away, again, like a piece of trash.
Lynn Shaw joining me, founder director Lynn's Warriors, a nonprofit committed to ending trafficking and abuse on young girls and women. He's right. The dismemberment aspect of what was done to Emily compounds the fact that she was like nothing. She meant nothing to the killer.
I mean, absolutely. We are seeing this in our marginalized communities across the United States, that they are kind of amping everything up. This is so horrible. Monsters dismembering bodies and doing all of that. But I want to go back on something. We have to really get out. Thank goodness we're talking about this today, Nancy. We're putting it out there. We have to continually, as hard as it is, and for the Pike family, all these horrible things we're talking about, we have to put this out in the public. We have to put the visuals out. We have to keep talking about it. We have to have follow up, because that is what will matter. We'll leverage the internet for good and just put it all over the internet. But you know what?
Lynn Shaw, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. Mary Kim Titla joining us, Executive Director, Unity, United National Indian Tribal Youth, Inc. Mary Kim, I don't enjoy talking about the dismemberment of a 14-year-old girl, but my point is she has remained invisible, and even in death, when many bodies, I'll just give you an example of cult mom Lori Vallow, who is responsible for the death of her son.
Nancy, you're way off track. You're way off track. Stay Wild said, Brooks, they say they don't know cause of death. They've said it several times. They're still investigating that. Truth is, they could know, and they just don't want it out to the public because it could be a big part of solving the case. We know how they work. This is not our first rodeo. Case in point, I'm going to go off topic just like Nancy Grace, okay? Last year at the Oscars, Killers of the Flower Moon, great movie. Lily Gladstone, beautiful woman, did the most perfect performance. She didn't win the Oscar. They gave it to skinny old Emma Stone. Isn't that her name? What's her name? Hang on. Give me a second. She's like La La Land and that shit. Emma Stone. Nothing against her, but her performance was nothing like Lily's.
Son and daughter, you should have seen the way the son was basically mummified. He was hermetically sealed. He was treated with great care, the way that his body was disposed. That doesn't negate the fact that he was murdered along with his sister, Tylee. But here, the way Emily's treated, even in death, it's shocking to my system that a little 14-year-old girl will be treated this way. And people aren't screaming from the rooftops. This child was dismembered. Even in death, she was brutalized.
It's shocking and heartbreaking, and it makes me very angry. It makes a lot of people very angry and upset. Indigenous women have long been the targets of hatred and violence. They say the underlying factors are there of poverty and homelessness, but you also have to look at the historical factors of racism, sexism, and the legacy of imperialism and colonization. So this is not the first time it's happened. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned, my relatives have gone missing and murdered. And I recently learned that an extended relative has been missing since last summer. So it is heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. And our people are not standing by any longer. They're taking action upon themselves. They're holding vigils. They're marching. They're at the state capitol. They're at the offices of our congressional representatives. We're speaking out because something must be done. We don't want to see this happen again.
When the group home manager who filed the report, Emily's roommate tells AZ Family that based on where her remains were found, just off US 60 heading northeast, she thinks Emily was just trying to go home. The roommate believes Emily was trying to hitchhike back to see her parents, and she got picked up by the wrong person.
Susan Hendricks joining me, an incredible investigative reporter and author. Susan, is that the working theory? And how much do you believe that the high rates of unsolved murders and missings amongst our American Indians, the indigenous, has to do with the fact that they don't have any help from local law enforcement or from the feds? The feds do not govern U.S. tribal territories. They have no jurisdiction there. It's up to the tribal police to solve all these cases, and it's not happening.
Absolutely. And we heard from Emily's uncle just say, look, a task force is finally formed, so they'll be working together. But how about this, Nancy? The indigenous community, young and old, are not included in Amber Alerts in Arizona. So lawmakers are working to fight this. There's a bill right now, 2281. It's passed the House, waiting on Senate. So yes, they are invisible.
Oh my stars. They're not part of the Amber Alert system? Is that what you just said?
No, not in Arizona.
Oh.
Not in Oklahoma either. Not in Oklahoma either. If a child goes missing off the reservation, we don't know. We have no idea. It's like the first experiment in socialism is what our federal government did with reservations. Again, I'm going to get my ass kicked for that, but it's the truth. And a lot of it has to do with communication between the reservations and people that don't live on the reservation. If you don't know, you don't know.
We're learning more. Listen to what Emily's mom says.
The mother of Emily Pike tells a local TV station that authorities told her they have 3 suspects in the disappearance and murder of her daughter, but that's not what they're saying in public. According to the Gila County Sheriff's Office, no suspects or persons of interest have been identified in her case. At this point, the cause and manner of death are still pending, according to the Pinal County Medical Examiner's Office, which investigates deaths in Gila County.
Alred Pike Jr., is that true? We're just hearing there's a suggestion that there are 3 POIs, persons of interest?
That was at the beginning of the after her body was found, but just recently we found out that the investigators said they didn't have anybody, no suspects or anything, no leads.
What investigator is this? What Ellie are you talking to?
The Gila County.
Gila County. Susan Hendricks, aren't the FBI involved now?
Absolutely, FBI is involved and they're part of that task force. But in doing research on this, learning about who Emily was, also learning about all the law enforcement agencies, they're not saying much. And it seems like the communication, obviously there's a lack thereof.
You know, I'm very interested. Mary Kim Titla joining us. Another.
It's deep. A lot of people are covering their own misdeeds, their own misjustices. So they really don't want people poking around to find out who kidnapped, murdered, and dismembered Emily. They just don't. They just don't. That group home has a lot to hide. And for that matter, the reservation could too. They're not being as forthcoming as they should, in my opinion, considering the gravity of this situation.
A little girl, a teen girl, Veronica Cruz, is missing from the same home. I haven't heard about her either.
It's very sad, and I am very troubled by that news. It's an alarming statistic when you look at the ages of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. We're talking about young girls, and so many of them are missing. Why aren't we hearing more about this? I'm just as outraged as everyone else. It makes me sad. It makes me mad. Murder is the 3rd leading cause of death of Indigenous women. There are people who don't know this. It's so important to educate everyone and to create awareness. That's why you're seeing these marches. That's why you're seeing people speaking out. You're seeing murals, this beautiful mural that was created on the reservation right by a major highway. So people who drive by can see Emily's photo and see that we care. We care deeply about what's happening in our communities. And we don't want this to happen over and over again, but it is happening. Why are our girls going missing? Why aren't we doing more about it? It's at all levels of government, and there's layers and layers of underlying factors that we start to peel away. And so we do have to address those layers of poverty and homelessness, but we have to work on this together. So we are asking for everyone's help to meet with people, to meet with the Indigenous communities, to figure out how we can address this better so we don't see another girl go missing.
To Lynn Shaw, my longtime friend and colleague, who I first met as we investigated the case of another little girl missing from a home, Serenity Denard.
Totally different, Nancy. This has to do with the reservation, and I'm not blaming the reservation. Nancy's got her O-face on. Would you all take a gander at that? She can compare all the cases she wants. This is not isolated. I'm going to make a very confusing statement. This is not isolated. This is not uncommon. But it is not talked about. So think about it. This is not an isolated situation. This is not uncommon. But it doesn't get talked about.
Lynn, everything that you, Mary Kim, Mr. Pike, Chris McDonough, Dr. Coyne, Susan Hendrick have said is all true. But let me ask you, what are we going to do?
We're going to do several things. It starts with right here today. We are talking about it. We are raising the awareness. That is the biggest thing we can do with the public, get everybody on board and give them some resources and visuals to share, whether it's in real time, whether it's on their social media platforms. Number two, we have to go back. You know what? I'm not hearing in any of this discussion. Did little Emily have a digital footprint? Did she have a phone? Did she have a laptop? We're not hearing anything about that. How was she going out to meet supposedly her boy, this boy she knew from guitar classes or something like that? I'm hearing nothing about a digital footprint. And number three, the biggest thing I will sit here and scream about, and we have seen these stories, Nancy, over and over again. What does it take? We cannot have children walking away, missing, ending up like Emily, you know, bless her little soul, in garbage bags. Everybody should be out screaming in the middle of Times Square about this. We will not accept this, and we have to create change.
If you know or think you know anything about the disappearance and murder of this little girl, just 14 years old, please dial 928-200-2352. Repeat, 928-200-2352 or 505-917-7830. There is a $75,000 reward. $75,000 reward in the search for this little girl's killer.
And the tribe put that money up. $75,000. If I read this correctly, and if the article was correct, the group home is done over, shut down. The reservation is going to start doing things differently as opposed to removing children and putting them in group homes. They're going to do different things. I don't know what they are, but that's what they're saying. Now then, 75,000 big ones you would think would make someone talk. This is always my issue with rewards. It gets us talking, it gets us hopping. $75,000 is not going to save anybody from a lifetime in prison or in Oklahoma death row. Black-haired chick said, I always assumed the reservation didn't want regular police involved. I don't know about Arizona. I know in Oklahoma, the regular police cannot be involved. No, do not cross go. Do not collect $200. No. No, not at all. FBI, totally different story. But there has to be a certain level of communication there. Well, you guys, we're going to continue talking about Emily Pike. We're going to keep this going. And I'm telling you, something will break because now people are really talking. They're really talking. Chris McDonough has a lot of connections, and he has been working with tribal police for a very long time. And these children deserve safety, to be in their own homes, that the federal government does their part in honoring them being sovereign, to make sure they have their, I hate to say their, that people, we call it on the roll here in Oklahoma, that they have their money, that they have their food, education, all the above. It's a disgustingly sad case. But I want to say thank you so much for being here, being respectful, keeping Emily's name out there. If anybody would like to join Discord, we have a whole room just for Emily. Jinbug is putting stuff in there that will blow your mind. But if I do not see you over in Discord today or catch you on one of the Facebook groups, then I'll catch you on the flip side tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central. Is Jody Blonde still in here? She wants to know if this is the crime channel. Yeah. That's what we got. And Jody Blonde, I know who you are because you left me a very disgusting comment after Alana's show yesterday. Send me an email, cll72020@gmail.com. You guys have a great rest of your Thursday. Continue being the coolest people on the nasty tube.